Hello, everybody. I am super excited to bring you an amazing speaker on a very, very important subject that we're dealing with right now in California. So let me welcome my friend Danny Glessner. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So thank you for being here and for discussing this important subject with our audience. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what's your specialty?
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a history about myself and our business. Um, I'm a 30-year fireman, retired, and I've also been a licensed real estate agent for the past 20 years. And I started this business, Wildfire Home Hardening Specialist, because I saw a need with the increasing number of wildfires we've had here in California and how different industries are sort of reacting to it. And I actually started it before any of the real estate advisories or natural hazard disclosures came out. And then, of course, when I did see those disclosures and when I did see the home hardening advisory, uh, I thought it was a good idea to get in front of realtors. As far as being a subject matter expert, I've been certified by the National Fire Protection Association. It's specifically in addressing uh, structure ignition potential. And what that basically means is I understand the vulnerabilities of a home or the deficiencies of a home, and I can communicate that really well to a homeowner or to a real estate agent.
So basically, these days, what we are seeing as realtors is we are actually not only homeowners are dealing with wildfires and loss of life and loss of property as a result of wildfires, but we also see that this is becoming an issue, a point of sale issue, to the point where if the seller doesn't have the home certified as fire protected or ready to go by the fire department, then it becomes an issue of actually selling the property to the buyer and having to disclose that the home is fire safe. Correct?
That's correct. So, um, uh, California legislation came out with Assembly Bill 38, and that legislation states that at this time, any homeowner, and this refers to 1 to 4 units, um, but anybody who is a homeowner or who is a landlord or is responsible for that property in any way, at the point of sale, if the home is located in what they call a high or very high fire severity zone within the state of California, that homeowner must disclose that it is in a very high or high wildfire area, and it must address certain features of whether they are hardened against wildfire.
So I feel like you are at the forefront of our industry with providing this service. As a matter of fact, you are the very first specialist that I see in the field that is providing this valuable service. So, how did you come up with coming out and providing this service, and how much reception are you getting from the public as well as from realtors in our industry about the services that you provide?
Well, the interest is definitely growing. I saw the need once I retired from the municipal agency. I went to work for a private company who provided various means of fire safety and fire management. So I had a peek into how the insurance industry was reacting to these wildfires and the growing number of wildfires that we've had. And so that sort of coupled with my real estate background, I thought, you know what, this could be helpful to homeowners out there, whether they're selling a house or not. It could be helpful to somebody who's having issues within the insurance industry, And of course, I thought, well, this could be really helpful to realtors.
Mhm.
And that sort of provided the motivation for me to get out there. Since I've been out there, which has been about a year and a half now, the interest has been consistently growing. As far as being specific to the real estate industry, it's very new. There's a lot of agents out there that are unfamiliar. There's a lot of people within our industry, the real estate industry, that are unfamiliar with the disclosures and sort of how to react to them or how to mitigate them. But I have seen a growing interest, very small on the real estate side. And you're actually one of the first realtors that have reached out to me. I have a couple other realtors that I need to contact this week, but it's growing.
Well, I think most of us don't even understand the whole point of sale requirement yet. And there's a lot of disagreements between California Association of Realtors and the fire department as far as who's responsible for providing this information. And I believe the way that it goes is California Association of Realtors says that the buyers need to be responsible for this, and the fire department says that the sellers need to be responsible for this. So there is confusion there, right from the get go, that we are dealing with as realtors. And somebody like you who can come in and provide that service becomes even that much more valuable to all of us in between. So you actually have built a website to educate the consumers and the realtors, correct?
I did. It's mainly geared towards your average homeowner, but I did put together a website that provides some information, some basic information that helps people understand home hardening. Home hardening is really a relatively new term.
Mhm.
There's probably a lot of people that are familiar with defensible space. They both relate to wildfire, but defensible space really relates to the clearing that's around the home. And there's some specific requirements for the homeowner when it comes to defensible space. But now, today, there's additional requirements that deal with the physical features of the home, like the roof or the windows or the eaves or the vents. And those are home hardening issues. So it's really sort of a two-pronged approach.
Mhm.
And to answer your question, as far as who is responsible, there is a lot of vagueness and sort of misunderstandings out there. But right now, it's my understanding that the homeowner is responsible at the point of sale to disclose anything related to what we're talking about here, to the buyer. So it really lies on the homeowner, and
Mhm.
realtors should look at this, the same as they would look at um, maybe a disclosure that
There might
says that the
like
disclosure
something,
says
right?
that the home is in an area where there's former military activity and there's possible ordnance. Same thing, or in a floodplain. It's just disclosing something that may affect the value of the property or may affect the buyer, impact the buyer in a negative way. So it's really kind of along the same lines, and it
Mhm.
should be handled the same way. Where I come in is I come in as sort of a technical expert. So like I was like you and I were chatting about earlier, you would have a normal home inspection, have your home inspector come in, but as far as if there was a NHD that came out that it said it was in a high wildfire area, then that would trigger an agent to reach out to someone like me as an additional inspector to come in with my own report.
Right, right. Okay, I'm going to share some of the material that you have brought to share with us, and have you walk us through and tell us what we can find. So this is your website, very nice looking website.
Thank
So
you.
there's more information that they can find here, and is that you?
No, that's not me. That's a gentleman by the name of Jack Cohen. And I'll just briefly explain that everything that has to do with home hardening and defensible space is scientifically driven. So Jack Cohen, he's a scientist that worked for the U.S. Forest Service, and he developed all the criteria that the state of California works off of, that NFPA works off of, and basically the same information that I work off of. So everything is quantified and scientifically proven, so that when someone like me comes in there and says that, this tree is a vulnerability to your home because of proximity to your home, that was scientifically tested. And Jack Cohen explains in that video on my website the many different things that a homeowner can do, and do it cost effectively, to mitigate or reduce the vulnerabilities of their home against wildfire. The other video on the right is just a brief description of home hardening. It's just a couple minutes long. I believe it was put out by the Bureau of Land Management, and it's helpful as well.
Got it. Got it. Okay, and let's go to this page. Okay, and what do we have on this page?
That just describes, sort of my background a little bit, and Jack Cohen's background. Jack Cohen's background is 40 years of scientific research in laboratories and in the field, and then my frontline firefighting experience, which I can relate. When I come out to a house, I pull from the scientific data, but then I also pull from my practical experience of being on a large number of these urban wildfire disasters, and knowing from a practical point of view and from a scientific point of view, what ignites a home and what a homeowner can do to reduce that.
So I'm going to switch off to this this report that you have generously brought to share with us, and if you can tell us more about this report, and and explain
Okay.
what are some of the issues that that arise when you are when you're looking at a home.
So this is one of my standard reports that I deliver. I'll deliver this to the homeowner. I'll also deliver it to the real estate agent. And as you can see, it very much is formatted like a standard home inspection report. And I did that on purpose. I go through the home with a head to toe assessment. I start at the roof and I work my way down the sides of the property, and then I work out from there. I go to 100 feet out, and I identify all the vulnerabilities that I see with that home, and I take a photo, and I leave a brief description, and I leave a summary, and that the homeowner has that information, and some of them are significant and some of them might be moderate, but then the homeowner has the choice of what to do with my recommendations. Because you have to remember too, I do this for people who are not at the point of sale, and
Right.
I might tell them that that beautiful 100-year-old cypress tree right next to your home is a problem, but I also communicate to them that I understand there might be an emotional attachment to that tree. It's my responsibility to let them know it's a vulnerability. There's the example. It's a vulnerability. They should remove it. That'll be my recommendation. But of course, it's their choice whether they want to remove it or not.
Got it. It's a tough balance between saving and preserving trees, and also to make sure that the home stays safe and free of safe from fire.
Yes. So if you scroll back up to some of the pictures that are that are closer to the middle or to the top, like you can hang on a second, scroll down a little bit.
This one?
A little bit more. No, there's one that shows okay, right there. So that's a typical, that photo near the top, that's a typical attic vent right there. And today, fire resistant vents are very common. That home had some fire resistant vents, but other vents weren't fire resistant. And what the homeowner didn't realize is that fire embers are actually the most common cause of home ignition. So it's not actually when the fire reaches the home. The embers can travel up to a mile, mile and a half, and I've seen it, and can ignite the home. So when I was on the front line, we may have been fighting fire near the front of the fire, and then we realized that maybe we had 5, 10, 15 homes igniting a half mile away from our location. And people have to understand that when we have these community wildfire disasters, neighborhoods are evacuated and fire resources are overwhelmed. So if you harden the home can sort of, in a sense, withstand its vulnerabilities to wildfire before other units have time to arrive.
I do remember at one of your presentations, you had a picture of basically fire burning on one side and the house remaining intact on the other side. And even after the fire, I remember you mentioned that the house stayed intact and did not catch fire.
That's true. And again, a lot of it has to do with the home hardening and the defensible space that's created for the home. This home was up in Pasadena. It was a $6 million home. And it was, it was a stucco home with a tile roof, but that didn't necessarily make it fire resistive. I found quite a bit of debris on the roof of the home, and any type of debris during extreme wildfire conditions can be ignited easily and carry the fire to other places around the home.
Got it. Well, this is definitely very, very informative. So, exterior sprinkler systems, which I actually have never heard of. Are we talking about fire sprinkler systems, or just sprinkler systems for, for grass and for landscaping?
Well, that's a great question, and it's an interesting point, because there's a lot of private companies out there that can benefit a great deal financially by approaching a homeowner with a potential solution to the wildfire problem. I know somebody personally who spent $60,000 on an exterior sprinkler system for their home, and they didn't address any other home hardening techniques or standards or vulnerabilities. And when I examined the home, their home was actually very vulnerable. The sprinkler systems, depending on how they're applied, won't necessarily do the job. And it's very, very questionable whether the homeowner gets a good return on their investment for doing an exterior sprinkler system. But they're out there. They're set up to deploy on the roofs. At the bottom of my report, there was a company that wanted to sell, it looks like a big ornament. That's actually a 2.5 gallon extinguisher with a fusible link that will basically melt, and it's pressurized with air, and it'll spray water. And he wanted to purchase that for that cypress tree that was up against his house. And I looked at it, and in my opinion, I told him, I says, I don't think this is worth the return on your investment for the money. I don't think it's really going to help this tree during a wildfire. So you have to be careful with the different companies that are out there that are trying to sell something to protect your home to protect your home from wildfire, when whatever they're selling may not be scientifically proven. And that's the format that I go off of. Every recommendation that I make is scientifically proven.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you very much. This is very informative and helpful. So, if our viewers want to get a hold of you, I guess here's your email and here's your phone number. They can reach out to you, and or they can go through your website to get to you. Correct?
Yes, the website has a page where they can, put in their personal information and email me through that. You can email me directly by my email address, homehardening at gmail.com. Or the easiest way to get a hold of me is give me a call or shoot me a text, and I can answer a lot of questions one-on-one. I'm happy to spend time with any real estate agent or any homeowner, and I can further elaborate on the disclosures, the home hardening disclosure advisory, and what you can expect to see coming across your desk and how you can best advise your client and keep yourself away from any liability.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Your information is very, very helpful, and your service is also invaluable. We appreciate you. I appreciate you as a realtor and as a resource for me, as well as my clients, and I'm sure my fellow realtor colleagues would say the same. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
All right. Thanks for having me, and thanks for engaging. I appreciate it.
Of course.